Hello, everyone, and welcome to Unique Peace. I am Janice. I'm a Reiki Master Teacher and intuitive healer here on Long Island, New York. And today you're going to be talking peace with the lovely Jen Mazer. She is the author of Manifesting Made Easy. She is known as the Queen of Manifestation, and she's going to walk us through what brings her peace and how we can bring it into our everyday lives. Join me in welcoming Jen Mazer. Welcome.
Yay! Hello, everybody. I'm so happy to be here.
So you are the Queen of Manifestation. And in your book, Manifesting Made Easy, you talk about how easy it is to manifest. And all we have to do is really believe it and be participants in it.
Yeah. We're
So
all we're all manifesting whether we realize it or not, right? And so it's just becoming more aware and intentional about how it works. And I talk about how it's really through our imagination that we tap into our intuition, right? So we all are great manifestors. It's more about understanding how to receive those messages and take action and say yes to all the things that want to come through for us. So I think just to kind of take it back a notch, when you first have an idea for something that you want to create or experience in your life, most people are like, oh, that's a great idea. And then the next thought is, well, I couldn't do it because, I don't have enough time. I don't have enough experience. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough connections, whatever those reasons are. And so we don't ever take action on those ideas, right? And I want to just kind of flip it on its head for everyone who's listening or watching, because if you are imagining it, your imagination is how you actually tap into your intuition. So it's not just this crazy idea that you're having that, ooh, that would be nice, but it's you are actually intuiting what's going to happen because you're open and you're using your imagination. It's like, ideas are flooding in, and it's up to you to say, yes, that's happening, right? And take action on it to allow it to fully come into fruition versus blocking it. And I think the practice is more about expanding your capacity to receive, right? And less about making things happen. It's about opening up and allowing things to happen versus pushing them away. I like to think of it as like we're all being pulled up into our greatness, like if we were strings like pulling us into the air versus us pushing rocks up a hill. That feels hard and heavy and hustling energy, right? And especially right now, things can feel that way, like, and instead it's like, okay, we're being pulled into our greatness, right? And every new thing is uncomfortable at first. And I think this is the thing to remember, that discomfort is totally normal. And if we think about the things that you've manifested in your life, the greatest things were probably the most uncomfortable, right?
right.
Just like even giving
Uh,
birth, right? Like I
yes,
gave birth,
giving birth it is.
right?
Yes. It's like, what the heck?
Right. And I feel like for those of you who had, natural childbirths, like I had two home births, it felt like right before, I'm about to push and the baby's here, that is when I am so uncomfortable, right? You think you're going to die, like throwing up or
Yes.
whatever it is.
Yes,
But that's
absolutely.
exactly
Been there.
when the baby comes, right? So it's like, it doesn't need to be that, right? But just remembering that with the things that we're creating, like you're comfortable with what you know because it's what you know. So everything around you, your relationships, your home, your money, all the things that you've experienced, at some level, you're comfortable with it, even though you want more. And so all the new things that you're stepping into are going to feel uncomfortable at first because they're new. And instead of, tightening up and pushing them away and sinking back to your comfort zone, it's really opening up and allowing ourselves to get used to this new area, right? This new level. So then we can get comfortable with this again.
And it's so funny. I'm going to tip that a little bit on the other side of the scales. And I don't know how close you are to adolescence, but we're in the throes of adolescence over here.
Mm.
And that resistance between the two of of wanting, them wanting their freedom, and you and it feels like the loss of control, and you're just trying to guide them, and they feel controlled, so they're resisting you. Um,
Mm-hmm.
whereas trying to remind myself that I'm not there's going to be a time where it's like he's on his own. I have a son, so he's going to be on his own. So he's manifesting his life, and I'm trying to keep it comfortable.
Right. Well, this is it. I mean, the surrender piece is a big part of it. And also, I think people ask me all the time if you can manifest for other people, right? And I think there it's a yes and, right? Like we know science has proven this in quantum physics from studies, right? That our intentions, our energy, and our vibration, you're a Reiki healer, hello, can affect
Yep.
other people, right? We know this. So energetically, if we're keeping that positive attitude, we're sending love and light and for the best thing to happen, it does energetically affect the other person. And yet that person ultimately, has control over their own choices for their own growth and experiences. So it's both. But I think for a lot of us, we get caught up in, well, whether it's our kids or it's like a boss or a coworker or an employee or a husband or whatever it is, that, oh, well, this person always does this. And so we just kind of say no, that's not possible because it's never going to change. And I want to stop that because things of course can always change. So I don't want you to think, well, I'm just a victim, I have
Oh
no
yeah,
right.
no.
But and then, obviously it's that beautiful balance of like, okay, I can think positively. I can set the intention for how I want it to go for the best thing for that person, and their highest experience and soul's calling. And I'm going to set that intention because why not? It's only going to help, right? So same thing with the
Hopefully it
world.
doesn't hurt. So it
Right,
can't hurt.
right. And then coming back to your own vibration, like we're all energy towers walking around, giving off a signal and a vibration and receiving information all the time. And it really starts with you and how you're vibrating, right? Like things around the world right now can feel really intense and heavy. And we're, empaths taking that in, and yet we know that we can change the channel and change the signal that we're giving off, and then that changes what we're getting back as well. So just like you can smile and it releases endorphins to be happy, right? You don't have to be happy first. You can fake laugh and it leads to a real laugh, right?
Not true.
And
True.
and so it's like, okay, if I'm listening to, static right now or a signal that I don't really want to be tuned into, right? It's like, how can I just change my frequency to tune into that exact, radio station to hear the beautiful music that I want to hear? And I think for everybody right now, it's how can I get myself into a positive feeling place um, in order to manifest from that place? Because manifesting comes from a feeling place. I don't teach just reciting affirmations. They don't work because you don't feel them. You can use affirmations. I teach ways to use them, but just reciting them alone doesn't do anything. It actually can make you feel worse if you're saying like, I'm a millionaire, I'm a millionaire, I'm a millionaire, and your account, bank account is overdrawn. It's making you feel bad, right? But it's like, number one, I want you to get clear on what you want, right? Number one, what do I want? Number two, how will I feel when I have that thing that I want? And number three, how can I feel that way now? So there's something that, okay, if I know I'm going to feel secure and spacious when I have money or whatever those feelings are, right? How can I feel secure and spacious right now? There's something you can do even without having the money, right, to feel the way you want to feel. So that's what I'm talking about in terms of, tuning your energy, right? And even if it's not related to the bigger dream that you want, like just what's going to allow me to feel good right now? Like what is something that I love? And then do that thing. It's so simple, right? Like get outside or, I love to ride my bike or I love to do yoga. So I love to listen to music. So why don't I do those things? Oh, and then it brings me back into a positive feeling place. Now I can operate and take action and prioritize the other big things I'm creating because I now feel good vibrationally and it's felt, right? When we're taking action, if we're coming from a fearful victim place energetically, or we're coming from I'm feeling good, even though I might be nervous and uncomfortable, but I'm feeling good, right? And putting that energy out there. So I think that's helpful too.
Absolutely is helpful. And if we could just take a moment to step back just slightly and kind of give a bit of background on how you became the Queen of Manifestation. Not how you became, but how you became known as the Queen of Manifestation.
Yeah. So my friends actually gave me the nickname Queen of Manifestation years ago because I was the friend in the circle who every time we got together, I had another outrageous story of something that I manifested. One of the big ones that I think was the reason that they named me the Queen of Manifestation was I lived rent-free in Manhattan for over 10 years in my own apartment that I renovated with a jacuzzi bathtub and a new kitchen. We had a theater in downstairs. We converted the first floor apartment into a black box theater, and every winter time around Christmas, the jazz musician Wynton Marsalis would come and play a concert in our building. And I think it was in 2003, we recorded the live concert and put out an album with Blue Note Records. It was nominated for a Grammy, live at the House of Tribes. That was my building. So just so many stories. I had my art in the New York Times. I started becoming friends with some of my favorite spiritual teachers or, musicians or directors, like at a private cocktail party with Martin Scorsese or at the UN backstage with Whoopi Goldberg or, hanging out with Deepak Chopra, like all these things. And people were like, how is this happening? I manifested my soulmate. And both of my kids were born, as I said, in home births, but they were born the same exact day, 9 years apart. Like lots of synchronicity, right? And it's not me. I'm the queen of manifestation and I'm, special. It's more this came naturally to me, and now I can teach other people how to do this for themselves. So for the past 12 years, that's what I've been doing. I had the idea to write a book, and I literally just said it out loud, similar to this in a conversation on the phone. I was on with my coach at the time and said, "Oh, I think I have a book within me." And literally a week later, I got an email from a publishing company asking me to write a book. And I was like, even for me, that's so crazy. Like that's too synchronistic. This must be some marketing scheme that they want me to pay them. And my dream publisher was Simon and Schuster, and this was a small publishing house I'd never heard of. But I Googled them. It was a real publishing house. So I agreed to get on a call with them. They offered me a paid book deal to write my book. They were like, "We love your voice on your blog. We'd love for you to write something like Manifesting Made Easy." So I was like, okay. I ended up getting, this book deal. Now, while I'm writing my book with this publisher, my publishing house gets bought by Simon and Schuster. So I become a Simon and Schuster published author, my dream, and it happened way easier, way faster than I think most people make it out to, have to be. I've shared this story in person. You can kind of see behind me, but I have a board game too. And one of my friends met me at a networking, like business, cool alternative, social conference, and she had the idea to create a board game for adults, for women in particular, that was positive and brought people together. And she asked me to create it with her, and we designed this prototype. We had it being manufactured in China. Actually, nobody had seen it, and my publishing company sent me the cover of my book, and they asked me to approve the design, and it literally matches the board game that nobody had seen. And I always share this because I'm going to just grab a copy of my game and my book over here, because it's just so incredible. They're both like gold and blue and with sparks and white. And it's like, I did not do this. I did not brand this. This was the universe. This is the synchronicity. I always share that your big dream is a part of somebody else's big dream too. And we're all meant to play our part and be in each other's lives. And we're all a part of the connected universe, no matter if we, remember that we're connected or not. It's not like I need to get reconnected. It's just remembering your connection. And, I know you and I were talking about this earlier, but, just like with cell phones, or the internet or Wi-Fi that's connecting us from all over the world. Like the fact that we're on video talking from 2 different places was a like crazy idea when we were little growing up, that we could be on a video call. So we know that there is this connection that's, connecting us like Wi-Fi. And if you've seen Fantastic Fungi, that Netflix documentary, we know there's a hidden network of mycelium mushroom kind of underneath the forest floor, right? And it's how the root systems talk to each other. But that network is above ground. We just can't see it. And we're always connected to the universal field, this beautiful web. It's just remembering your connection. So when like I had the idea to write a book, and then the publishing house had the idea to, oh, we should have a book about manifesting, boom, they reach out to me. The person who designed the cover of my book had the idea to make it blue with a spark. Where did they get that idea? They're connected to the universal field. I had created this cover for the board game that totally matched, so it's like all these synchronicities. I have a million stories, and also with clients, like this can be your life if you're kind of like remembering that you're plugged in and you're looking for those synchronicities. I think that's a big practice too, not like overdoing it, and trying to, what does this all mean? Like looking for this, over meaning, but really like from a regular basis every day, like looking for the good. It's always there, right? Like looking for that beautiful sign, because the more that you pay attention, the more you see that everything is right there. And I think everything we want is right in front of our nose if we can just see it, even that like next person that can help us. It's like opening up to see what's right in front of you and ask for help and the support that you're looking for.
Right. It echoes so many of the people that I've met and worked with as well. So when reading your book, I was like, oh, I've heard this before.
Yeah.
Oh, I've heard this before. And it's like, it's a good thing, because one of my teachers has mentioned, she goes, you can hear the same thing over and over again. It just takes that one person to say it a tad bit different. And
100%. Yep.
and your book is very well written for those who are just starting out, or sometimes we just need that reminder.
Yeah.
So it plays that field very nicely, both sides of that field very nicely.
Yeah. Thank you. It is true. It's like, it's not like I created the system and it's my proprietary, system. It's like, this is what I do. And I'm speaking universal laws and explaining it in a way that might make sense for a lot of people, and has resonated. And I love what's different about my book than other books is that it's actually practical. I read a lot of those, beautiful spiritual books that you're like, yes, 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 I know this. Yes, this
Oh,
resonates.
that
But then there's nothing of like, well, what do I do with this? How do I actually bring this into my life and apply this? Okay, I know I should think positive thoughts, and it's like, oh,
okay.
but like, what do I do about that?
How do I
You know,
manifest my positive thoughts?
so
Exactly.
yeah, I think it's good to just like bring it into just it's the practice of this. Like we all know these things, but it's, are you putting these things into practice? And in all these traditions, around the world, ancient shamanic traditions, it's like they're simple. It's not like these crazy principles, but it's the practice of them that makes the difference. That's when you experience enlightenment and, all the evolution.
And what I love about your book is it's not overcomplicated. It's very practical, like you said, and it's not you don't overcomplicate.
Thank
Sometimes we
you.
get lost in the superfluous of
Yeah.
things. No, it's really that simple.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, one of the things too that I didn't mention too when you asked me about like how I became the, queen of manifestation, is really just going back to my childhood and the way that I looked at life, right? Is I was always into visual art and loved to draw when I was little. And I had two amazing parents that really saw that in me and nurtured me and, recognized that I was an artist and got me sketchbooks. And I would go around and draw my relatives, and so I would see things in my imagination first, and then I was able to create them in the different, then later on in different types of art. And I think that that is really how we all are as creators. We're all artists of our lives. And it's really using your imagination and then creating it in the physical. And I do think that upbringing kind of did shape, right, who I am and how I go about things. Because we're all creating our own masterpieces. And if we know we're spiritual beings here in this physical body, having this physical experience in this lifetime, I always say, why not create the most amazing thing we can create, right? Like in this life, if we know that we're always okay, right? We're always fine. And the ultimate, is love and light, then let's create the most amazing thing we can possibly come up with and experience. Our souls wanted to come here to experience things on the physical level, right? And learn and grow. So I think a lot of times there's some sort of fear that comes in, and the only thing that moves fear is action, really.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
and loving our obstacles, not like from this, oh, I love my obstacle, but like truly like finding, if it's not avoiding the obstacle, it's not pushing it away or pretending it's not there. It's like, I know there's something here for me. If I can come from a higher spiritual place of looking at it with love, there's always an opportunity in the obstacle that's going to bring you to a new place had the obstacle not appeared. And it's really finding that. It's how people can walk on fire. I took my clients to walk on fire, right? If anyone's ever done that, right? It's like, how do we do that? We love the fire. We become the same higher vibration, and then you don't burn your feet, you know? So I think it's looking at all the things around us right now that feel heavy or hard or, and I want to have anger or resentment towards, and instead come from that higher place of like love and light. It's the same with forgiveness. It doesn't mean you're justifying other people's actions, right? It's for yourself, right? Forgiveness is it's helping you. So it's not like you need to excuse things that you see as wrongdoings around the world. It's more, if I come from a higher place and I can pour that light in, similar to Reiki, right? The
Right.
light from the sun into the things that I'm looking at, then I'm not personally affected, right, by this. And I can come from a place that's finding the good and finding a path out. And I always say, um, when you're working on something or manifesting something and you feel resistance, it's a good thing, because if you imagine that you're in the water and you're swimming, you only feel the resistance when you're moving, when you start to move. If you're still, you don't feel any resistance. And so we want to move. That's what we want. We want growth. The natural state of the universe is growth and expansion. So we're going to feel that resistance, right? And that's a good thing. So just encouraging you all to keep going. And if it feels overwhelming, we're talking about peace, right? It's coming back into your heart. I always recommend grounding yourself in the present moment, right? Because if you're in the moment, you can't be worried about the past and regretful or resentful of situations or fearful of the future. And so, literally, just being here now. I know it sounds like this cliche, but it's so true. It's like, what's good about right now? How can I savor the things that I'm doing in this moment and really expand that feeling of gratitude in the moment, not just in my gratitude practice at night, right? But really being present, it helps so much. And grounding yourself in the present and listening to your heart, asking your heart, what does my heart want most right now? And really tuning in, and then taking an action that's going to make you feel good. That's not harmful, right, for other people. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and talking about what goes into being peaceful in this moment, how do you personally define peace?
Great question. So, I haven't ever really thought about that, defining it. Um, I think it's really being okay in the moment. That's how I would define it. Like feeling just like this state of calm and presence, and maybe it's just this awareness, like when you're in a meditation, right? That's how I feel. It's just like a like so, I think just speaking of meditation, it's such a good practice to have right now. I mean, whether you do it every single day and you have a regular practice, or you're like, all right, I can, do this now to bring myself back, I think is so important, because it's that state of, the feeling of bliss, that people talk about. But it's really just kind of taking a moment of pause and coming back and, into your breath. And you're still aware of everything around you, right? In a meditation, if there were a fire or my kids really needed me, I could get out of it and help. And yet I can choose to be in this state of calm and bliss and peace that you're talking about. And I think that's what it's about. It's like, especially right now in these challenging, transformative times that we're in, we're in the beginning of the age of Aquarius, things are shifting, and the beginning is there's a lot of like pushback, right? And so in all of the storms, literal and figurative, that are happening right now, how can I be in my state of calm and my state of bliss while things are still happening? And it's not, we can still take our action and however, and be the light however we are, showing up in our lives, whatever we're doing. But it's really finding that calm so that we can move through all these things. Because if everything is affecting us, we're not going to be productive and helpful, right? Our light is dimmed, or we've got, things in our body or whatever, limiting beliefs or stuck energy. So how can I get myself in a good place vibrationally? Sometimes it's literally just imagining, you've got this beautiful bubble, this beautiful egg around you of protection and light, and love. And the things, they don't penetrate, they bounce off. And that's helpful too. Or literally just remembering something, like if we know that the three highest frequencies in the universe are love, gratitude, and awe, feeling awe-inspired, right? Then how can we cultivate those three feelings? Then it will shift our vibration. So you might not be in a place of feeling those things. You might be freaked out and stressed or whatever. All you need to do is just, close your eyes, put your hands on your heart, and remember a memory of a time where you felt, completely happy, a place that you love, that you're grateful for, or whatever, right? A time that was awe-inspiring for you. Or maybe you just get back in touch with your body and you're in awe of your breath and your heart beating without you even needing to do anything, right? So, and love, feeling that love for yourself, or maybe there's someone or a place or a food or a pet, or a child, that you just love so much. So you can cultivate those feelings. They're all in you, and it does shift your vibration. And then you can get back into action, right? It's that beautiful balance. And I was just talking to my daughter, she's preteen. I have two kids. One is almost 13 and one is almost 4. And I was talking to her about, she's got a lot of work right now, like in middle school, and she's in a
Oh,
play,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
she's got all these things. And I was like, well, there's, high tide and low tide, right? It's like it doesn't stay high tide forever. It goes back down, right? So I think about that too, because everything is a wave, time, energy, right? So thinking about everything kind of being a wave and not stressing so much. It's like riding the wave versus, trying to push against the flow. And that surrender of riding the wave is really, really helpful, in whatever you're in this moment, in this season in your life.
And the next question I love to ask, and you've touched upon it a tad, but how do you personally find peace? How do you bring peace into your own life?
Yeah. Well, a couple of the things that I've already talked about, I think are really helpful. One is getting present, gratitude practice is really, really helpful. Again, you probably know this, everybody, but it's like, are you applying it? You don't need to have a written practice. I teach that in some of my programs because it helps retrain your brain if you haven't done it consistently. But it's just the thought of like when I'm, putting my head down at night on my pillow, I'm remembering, my favorite parts of the day. I'm recalling and reliving them, right? And grateful for those things. So it's like the gratitude in the moment, like just stopping anytime I get stressed. Oh, right. What's still good? What am I grateful for right now? Another practice, so simple, it's slightly different than gratitude, is what's new and good. Because a lot of times we're focused on the bad stuff, the problem that we need to solve in whatever business life, um, and and that takes over. And instead, it's like, oh, what's good? What is new and good? What am I celebrating, right? Or what am I proud of? Because another practice is we can only control ourselves, right? Things happen around us. So I might make a big ask or apply to something and get a rejection, right? Or get a no. And if I am attached to the result, then I'm making myself feel really bad versus me being proud of myself for asking in the first place. So it's thinking about like, how am I proud of myself for showing up, not attached to the results of the thing that I am doing, right? But how am I in alignment? And I think for most people, they're out of alignment, to be honest. If you're focused on what am I proud of, that's so helpful. Daily, like gratitude, being proud, looking for synchronicities, getting present. You can have a meditation practice, right? These are all just kind of basic grounding rituals. But the alignment piece, I think, is really important because if you don't trust that the things that you want are coming, I think it stems from you not trusting yourself. And when you don't trust yourself, the reason is because you're not taking action on the things that your intuition is telling yourself you should be doing. So it's really honoring your intuition. And it's not society telling you you should do this or somebody else, telling you. It's this inner knowing, listening to your inner voice of what is going to be good for you, or what that next thing is. The more that you act on those little sparks of intuition, the more you're going to be feeling so good. And the more that you get more intuitive guidance, whether you are someone who's super, in touch and actually hears or sees things, or you just have this knowing or this, ideas come. But I really think that's important, is just to kind of like take care of the things that are on your list, like to take care of. And I know it can feel like there's so much and there's so many things we could focus on, but completing things feels really good. Like if we can complete the things that we say we want to complete, we've created space now for the next thing, right? And we can keep prioritizing because yes, you can do everything that you want, all the amazing ideas that you have, right? And yet it's like, what's the most important thing right now, right? I can let those other things go. What's the one thing that's going to have the biggest ripple effect on everything else? And be proud that I did this one thing, right? Like break things down into smaller chunks, because if you have, big things on your to-do list or your priority list and you're not finishing them, you're feeling bad about yourself because you haven't finished them. So how can I break things down into smaller chunks that I can actually complete and be proud of myself for? Like, this is what I'm saying, to be proud of. It's like I have things I don't get done every single day, but if I'm focused on that, I'm feeling bad, I'm feeling stressed, I'm feeling anxious. Instead, I'm like, oh, I got this one thing done. Yay! Like focus
Absolutely.
on the things that you did do. And I think that is a practice and it is a shift. And the more that you do it, the more you feel more peaceful, and inside. So there's so many things. It's really like, what's one thing I can take that, from what I said, and just start to implement that, and commit to that. Um, and then you can add on more, but just recommitting to something that is going to shift you in this moment, whatever that thing is that oh, I haven't been doing that, but I think I want to get back into it, right?
So that might have blended into the next question.
Mm,
And that is, how do you bring peace to others? If you once you've meditate or focused
yeah.
on the one or two things, like what's new and good today, and what and how you brought peace into your own being, how do you help others bring peace into their lives?
Mm. Well, me personally, it's what I do every day, right, with all these teachings. But I do want to share that you don't need to be a healer or a teacher to do this. It's really by you living out your light and you being in a high vibrational place, you affect everybody around you. Because if you're happy energetically, it is felt. We've all walked into the room at a networking event or party, and you can feel the people that are like, ooh, I want to talk to them, and the people that are like, ooh, I want to stay away from them. Something is off energetically, right? With that person. So I really think it's really about focusing on I'm going to bring peace to other people when I am peace. And this is a big thing I've talked about a lot. I actually, years ago did a summit called Manifesting Peace. And I remember talking to Sonia Choquette, who's, a well-known psychic, who I love and spent lots of time with. And Sonia was saying, really to manifest peace in the world, it's becoming peace within yourself. And it's so true. And it's not this spiritual bypassing or, like we can do the activist work, and all of that and be peaceful within ourselves, right? And it really starts there. So um, I think that really is the key. Like, how can I ground myself in the present today? If I'm really out of it, maybe I'm going to go outside and, go like be in nature, which is grounding. If it's warm out, I might, take off my shoes, right? Otherwise, just spending time in nature is super grounding. Meditating in nature or just meditating in general is super grounding. Um, all of these practices, right? Writing down what I'm grateful for. If I'm starting to feel resentful about someone in my life, then it's the gratitude for that person. You don't need to share it with them, but it helps you shift. If you're starting to be resentful of your mom or your spouse or your kid, or it's like the only way to shift that energy starts from you, not them changing. It's you and how you're viewing the situation. So if I can find gratitude, what do I still love about this person, or what am I grateful for, and just write it all out, it starts to shift and your focus shifts, right? Because law of polarity, both sides of the equation exist at the same time. It's up to us, which side are we focused on? And I think, the Sedona method talks about this. We can allow ourselves to go into worst case scenario or the things that we don't like. It's not like avoiding that. Oh, I'm just going to be positive all the time. We can allow ourselves to, okay, if this did happen and this crisis happened, what would I do? And then what would I do? And then what would I do? And you find that there's going to be a way out of that problem because you've allowed yourself to think about it. And once you've done that fully, you go back into, well, what's the best case scenario, that opposite side of the spectrum? Okay, well, if this happens the way I want it to happen, then what would happen next? Okay, and then what would happen next, right? And you start to expand and expand and expand, and it feels so good. You don't even want to go back into worst case scenario. You don't even need to go back there anymore because you've lived it out and you recognize, oh, I'm going to be okay no matter what. This feels better. I'm going to stay in this place of possibility and expansion. And that's a great practice. So, what you focus on expands. And it's not avoiding bad things. It's just saying, like, okay, this happened. And, what's the opportunity here, right? And I think that's just super helpful these days. And sometimes it's more embodiment. That's why we have healers and people like you, right? It's because sometimes we do really need somebody else to work on us, right? Or energetically, or, get the massage or whatever it is, receive the acupuncture, the Reiki, right? And it's like, that's all helpful, right? But it's really, if I'm going to spread peace in the world, how can I get myself feeling good and feeling at peace? Because I know just from being a mom, right? This experiment of being a mom, this is the ultimate, right? Self transformational experience, because how we're showing up for our kids, it's felt, right? So yeah, it starts with you.
I wholeheartedly agree. And I too love the Sedona method and go back to it frequently. And it was one of my fellow classmates had introduced me to the book. So and that there is the both ends of the spectrum, and then just trying to find the balance or leaning one more positive than to negative to the other. So I'm glad that you bring that up, because there is a key to remembering the polarity. And if you can be, like you said, at peace within yourself, you've kind of mastered, like, I'm going to be okay either way.
Yeah, that's it. And we're here and we're existing in polarity, right? And we need both sides. You know, we just heard that quote that I always love, that I've said many times before, about in the darkness is only when you can see the stars. And it really is so true. It's like we're grateful for the contrast, because in art, you need those dark areas to emphasize the light areas. Otherwise, you wouldn't have no picture, right? And so it's like I'm not looking at my life and, oh, well, I just want to erase all the bad experiences. Like, all those experiences that were hard in the moment brought you to this next thing, right? And this next thing. And I love to do an exercise. I learned it from Deepak Chopra, where you have a thread and you kind of weave it back to all these experiences. But instead of, it's not the bad, I start with something that I really love in my life that I'm grateful for. For example, like my soulmate, right? And it's like, well, how did I meet him? Okay, well, I met him through another, mutual friend, a musician named Michael Franti. And how did I meet Michael? Oh, I met him through, I Candle Cafe, a vegan restaurant in the Upper East Side that I did their website years ago when I was in college, like, and I became friends with them, and they invited me to a party and he was there. And how did I get there? Well, I became vegan and and how did that happen? All these things, right? And then I'm just grateful for all of the things that led me to this. And you could do that with everything in your life, your home, the people in your life, the whatever, the experiences, your job. Like, oh, what led me to that? Oh, how did I find Reiki? Or, you know what I mean? Oh, that's so interesting. Oh, it was this person, or this person led me to that, or who nicknamed me the Queen of Manifestation, and how did I meet them? And blah 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 blah. um and it just is like, oh, right, everything is leading you to the next right place and the next right place, and you're always in the perfect place. Always. There's no mistake in the universe. And I think we can feel like it's a mistake, but it's really not. Everything is leading you to exactly where you are right now, and it's perfect. My clients always quote me, because I don't realize I say it, but I say it so much. It's all perfect, right? Because it really is all perfect, even when it doesn't feel like it is. It's kind of finding that perfection. You're perfect. You don't need to change anything to, be perfect and worthy and deserving of everything that you want. And yes, there's growth and we all make mistakes. And it's not saying, well, I'm not going to own up to my mistake, but it's recognizing that that mistake was exactly what I needed to get to this next place, right? So I like thinking about that. I think it's really helpful.
It is very helpful. And the question that I love to ask, because no answer is ever the same,
Mm,
and that's what's in your toolbox.
mm,
And so you had mentioned, helping your daughter. I remember the middle school years. I would never wish them upon anybody. It's like, if I ever go back in time and, like, where would you start over? Would you start at the beginning? No, high school. I'd start at
mm,
high school. I don't want to relive middle school. It's horrible. But there's a lot going on, and
yeah.
you can recognize when your daughter is stressed or her friends are stressed. And so what's in your box is like, okay, we gotta get the homework done or get ready for the performance. It's like, how do you help her recenter quickly?
Mm. Great question. Um, I really do think so much of it, number one, is embodying things, using your breath, to recenter yourself in the moment. And then get what is still good. It's so simple, but what is still good? And then what can I do? What's one thing I can do right now to allow me to feel better, right? And we're not going to tackle everything, but one thing can move everything forward. And that does, make you feel better, like empowering yourself. What's something I have control over, right? So you're getting yourself out of this place of feeling like you don't have control over anything to, okay, well, what's something I can do that's empowering in this moment that's going to make me feel a little bit better? And that's it. I mean, there's so many other tools like, EFT. I mean, there's like
there's a
like so
zillion
many,
things. Yeah.
right? I love that. But there's so many things that we forget that we have in our toolbox that we can use. But any of these practices are good, right? So whatever works for you. Yeah.
And where can we find your book or the game? Specifically, how do we find your game? I've been looking for it.
Oh, well, we're currently sold out. That's why you can't find it.
Sure.
But we've sold out of like 2 production runs. So I will let you know when we have more of them available. But you can get my book anywhere that books are sold. It's called Manifesting Made Easy. And go to queenofmanifestation.com because everything is there. And you can also sign up for my mailing list to be the first to know when our next production is in stock for the board game. And I have lots of free things there too, like a guided visualization. You actually got to experience with me, taking you through your biggest dream and kind of making it bigger and feeling it, which does shift your vibration, definitely. And I have some other amazing things too, resources on my website. So that's a good place to go, just queenofmanifestation.com.
Wonderful. And I would like to thank you, Jen, for sharing a part of your day with us.
Oh,
And I do recommend everybody go to queenofmanifestation.com. I also recommend the book. I love the book. It is very helpful. It is very practical. And there are tips, tricks, and tools in there that anyone can use. Doesn't matter where you are in your journey. It's a start right now book.
yay. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Yeah, sending everybody lots of love.
We're going to put Jen in the green room. I'll be right back. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today on Unique Peace. I am grateful for every one of you, and please share this episode with others and learn how to manifest peace within yourself. I will see you next week. Have a great day.